Welcome to Faith in Practice, presented by Higher Powered Sports, PT, the podcast where faith meets everyday life and vocational calling. Each episode, your host, Kurt Kessler, and his guest will explore how to live out your faith in your work, relationships, and daily challenges. Let's grow together and discover how to live out your faith with passion and purpose. Let's get started.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Faith in Practice. Today we're going to hit on a heavy topic. September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and I just want to take a moment and work through some thoughts on today's episode. To start off, again, I am not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but I do at least just want to speak to some statistics and my own sentiment around the topic. So suicide rates have ebbed and flowed over the course of time and different demographics, but I want to call some attention to some of the more recent happenings. In 2022, the overall rate increased to 14.2 per 100,000 people, which is the highest that it has been since 1941. In 2021, men aged 75 years and over made up the highest group with 42 instances per 100,000. No female age group exceeds 8.6 per 100,000, while the only male age group below 21 is age 10 to 14. So it clearly affects men more than women. I'm sure people have all kinds of ideas to support those. That's beyond the point. What I'm going to talk about is for everybody, as the mental health space in our world continues to grow and evolve. And let me just say, some people might be of the opinion that this wasn't an issue when we were growing up. And a few things can be true at the same time. It's not about being right or wrong, but previous generations weren't really encouraged to share their thoughts or feelings. We hear it all the time from my parents' generation that the openness for feelings or affection or emotion in general wasn't commonplace when they were growing up. So some people view sharing feelings as a weakness. You got to be tough, you got to toughen up. And while there is something to be said for toughness in the sense of being able to overcome emotions and find success, we as a society have just learned more about mental health and the true impact that it has on people, not because we're looking to softify America. So to get started here, if we want to talk about being soft, I have always been soft. I have always been emotional since I was a kid. My grandmother used to fear that I would get picked on or taken advantage of because of my personality. Growing up, I didn't know how to deal with all of the emotions that I felt. Like I said, I was always emotional as a kid, all the way up through high school and college. Here's the big part, though. I didn't have a healthy outlet. I internalized a lot. I showed a lot of emotion, but I also buried a ton of it. I had emotions of sadness from taking things too personally, emotions of disappointment when I let someone down, emotions of self-hatred when I would mess up time and time again. I felt a lot of things and didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't process them in a healthy way. I used basketball as an outlet, and in many ways, basketball served me well to occupy my mind, but basketball didn't have any answers for me. And the more I put my emotion into basketball, the game would eventually fail me. On the episode with Rachel Shim, we talk about putting our identity in sports and basketball specifically. I transferred emotion into the game, and then when I would play bad, it's like the carpet was ripped out from under me and I was back with nothing. Many times I would ask, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Would anybody care if I wasn't? And these thoughts really manifested in high school as I experienced the emotions that come along with a teenage relationship and social pressures, sports, living up to the expectation of others. And those were the thoughts that Satan wanted me to have. He wanted me to be looking for comfort in all of these other things, and when there was none to be found, he would step right into my mind and utilize my thoughts. So an important thing to just be aware of here. Satan wants us to feel alone in sin, in emotion, wants us to feel different in an ugly way, in a way where we want to isolate ourselves and question the plan and question our purpose. During my senior year of high school, I was lost. I was just lost. I believed in God, but I was still lost. I was at the point where I just couldn't deal with the pressures that felt like they were placed on me in every avenue of my life. No matter which way I turned, it felt like something was being asked of me that I couldn't deliver. And it's kind of funny to think about now, because I'd love to snap my fingers and go back to my high school level of responsibilities because it seems so little now. But at the time, and without a proper way to deal with them, it was hard. I would not go back to the emotions that I had in high school and college because they weren't healthy. There was a time in the fall of my senior year where I really questioned if it was necessary for me to be here. I thought about what it would be like if I weren't. I thought about how I could get away from all the things that were eating me up. It sounded nice. It sounded freeing. And I was in the kitchen late at night having these thoughts, considering my future and diving deeper and deeper into this ideation. And the thing that stopped me from going any further was I thought about my parents. There were times in high school where my dad and I didn't see eye to eye, and it really affected me and my love for the game of basketball, after already having lost love for the game because of one of my coaches. But when I thought about my past and my upbringing, almost all of my favorite memories had my dad in it. Playing for him in youth basketball, all of our travel tournaments that my friends and I still talk about now. I didn't think it was going to be this hard to talk about. The hours that he spent leaving work or taking me to a workout or to a game, watching the Sixers together. No matter how tough parts of our relationship were in high school, he was still there for me every step, and I knew that he loved me. And my mom was where I went for comfort. She was always very straight to the point, brought me perspective that I needed to realize that there were others in worse spots than me, but she would listen and just be there for me. And what would it do to her if I wasn't here? And the more I took the focus off of myself, the more I could see that the impact it would have on my parents was one that I did not want to be responsible for. And the key for me was that shift of attention. Satan wants us to draw attention to ourselves instead of others, especially God. We are hyper aware of our flaws. Sometimes we might even feel others are hyper aware of our flaws. But there is someone who made us specifically who we are for a specific purpose. Sometimes we can't see that. We just think that God made a mistake or made us with these ugly flaws, but those quirks that we don't appreciate about ourselves, or even that some others don't appreciate about us, can be used for good. I hated that I was soft. I wanted to be strong and tough because the societal expectation is for men to be strong and emotionless. And if I had been what society wanted me to be, I wouldn't be able to empathize with others. I wouldn't be able to understand the feelings. I wouldn't be able to understand feelings and how different things impact others. I would be less effective in my job, my purpose. The quirk that I hated so much about myself is the thing that makes me different. It's the thing that makes me, me. It's fair to question God when we don't understand. It's normal. When you go on vacation and you weren't the one to make the plans, it's fair to wonder if the one who made the plans is right. But with God, we know that the plan is right. We just can't see it when He's on the mountain and we're in the valley. I couldn't see what God had in store for me, but I am glad I stuck around. Had I listened to Satan and allowed these thoughts to prevail, I would not have found my wife. I would not have found the deeper roots of faith that have changed and evolved my emotions into a strength instead of the weakness I always thought they were. And I fast forward, there are 2 wonderful kids that have just filled me with daily joy and purpose and challenges to overcome. And I sit here now and I think back on all the blessings I would have missed had I continued to sit in my depression. And I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers for everyone specifically dealing with this, but someone does have the answers. And I can't tell you anything more than just to believe it to be true, and you'll find the answers along the road. It was the love of God that allowed me to believe there was more for me. I don't know who needs to hear it, but God has a plan. God loves you, and there are people here that can help you out of the hole that you're in. This message hits home a little bit within the past few weeks of me initially writing some thoughts down for this topic. There's a young girl in our town that took her life. My high school soccer coach lost a former student of his recently with this. And a former coworker of mine lost her husband, all in the span of maybe 3 weeks. It is real, and it is silent. Oftentimes we can't see others' struggles, but they are there. So be kind to everybody that you encounter.
It's time for Word Up.
Word Up today is coming from a song called Flowers by Samantha Ebert. And I apologize, I'm already emotional. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge to read some of this. So I was trying to come up with a certain line from the song that I wanted to share. But the more I listened to the song, the more I felt the entire song was appropriate to share. So I'm just going to read through it. You don't have to worry about me singing. So it says, well, blue skies and hillsides feel so far away. And I wrote in my notebook that I've seen better days than the ones as of late. I can't bear the weight. The rain won't stop pouring out my window pane, and I haven't left my bedroom in 76 days. I wish something would change because I'm losing faith. So I brought it up in a desperate prayer. Lord, why are you keeping me here? Then he said to me, child, I'm planting seeds. I'm a good God, and I have a good plan. So trust that I'm holding the watering can. And someday you'll see that flowers grow in the valley. So whatever the reason I'm barely getting by, I'll trust it's a season, knowing that you're by my side every step of the way, and I'll be okay. Because I brought it up in a desperate prayer. Lord, why are you keeping me here? Then he said to me, child, I'm planting seeds. I'm a good God, and I have a good plan, so trust that I'm holding a watering can. And someday you'll see the flowers grow in the valley. When I'm on the mountain and looking down below, I'll see a valley of flowers that needed time to grow. And I'll thank you for the rain, the hurt, and days of pain. And I'll bring it up in a grateful prayer. Thank you, Jesus, for keeping me there. You know just what I need, and you've planted seeds, because you're a good God with a real good plan, and you hold my world in a watering can so I can have peace, because flowers grow in the valley. So, wherever you are in life, know that there are people who care, people who love you, and strangers that want the best for you. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks to all for listening and allowing me to open up on a tough topic. If anything today resonated with you and you need to reach out, you can find my information in the show notes or find me on Instagram at Higher Power Sports PT. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Faith in Practice. We hope you found inspiration and practical wisdom to help you live out your faith on and off of life's playing fields. If today's conversation resonated with you, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Your support helps us continue sharing stories and insights that empower you to align your faith with your vocation. For more resources or to connect with us, visit hpsportspt.com. That's hpsportspt.com. Remember, your faith isn't just a part of your week, it's a part of your life. Let your light shine.